How many times have you heard it? Men are the violent ones. Men are the ones who kill women. Men, all men, are something to be feared and distrusted. It's been the rallying cry of feminism's violence narrative for going on 50 years now. They chant it like gospel, post it like proof, weaponize it like a warhead. And what no one thinks to ask, what very, very few have ever asked is it actually true? Are men more violent than women, and should women universally fear all men? Well, let me start by sprinkling a little wisdom on you, sharing some facts that will finally answer those questions. Let's finally tell the full story, not just the one the feminists want you to believe. Stay tuned as we address yet another falsehood of feminism, the one that says it's men who kill women. All right, let's dive in and look at some facts, not hyperbole. And when you look at the raw data without any context, then yes, it's fair to say you can make the argument that feminists do, that men are more violent than women, at least on the surface. But here's the thing. Context matters. Because without it, it's not the full truth. It's not even half the truth. And yet, conveniently, feminists leave out the context every single time. As such, their argument is manipulated, based on half stats, ripped out of context and soaked in gender bias. Because while feminists love to say men kill women, what they'll never say is that women kill men too, and in far greater numbers than anyone wants to admit. And today, I'm going to prove it. All right, let me start off by being very clear about something. Unlike feminists, I'm not trying to turn this into a contest, especially because I believe doing so, frankly, dismisses the tragedy that victims and their families face. But the fact is, the feminist cult has turned this into a pissing contest, one where they want their side to be told, but the other side, well, not only don't they want to discuss it, they don't even want to acknowledge that it exists. And let's go with their premise that men, all men, are inherently dangerous and likely to kill a woman. Not some men, not a few men, but all men. It's all men till it's no men, right? And they justify that by saying that men kill more than women. And they can never know who are the good ones and who are the bad ones. Well, let's state the obvious, the other side of the coin. That if men killing women means men are dangerous, then women killing men should also be considered dangerous. The same standard should be applied both ways. I mean, ask yourself, wouldn't women killing men also mean that women are inherently dangerous to men as well? Wouldn't women killing men also mean that women, all women, should be presumed to be inherently dangerous? Wouldn't it mean that men should also assume that women, all women, are capable of killing them? Because men, and women also, by the way, can never know if a particular woman is safe or not. That's the logic they apply to men, right? So why shouldn't it apply in reverse? But if you make that argument, well, buckle up, kids, because you're sure to be labeled as full of rage and toxic masculinity, full of internalized misogyny and dismissive of female victims. You'll be told point blank you hate women. All while they're excusing their claims as standing up for women, fighting for equality for all. And yet, much like their argument for equality, the logic disappears faster than a woman's interest in taking accountability when you point out the double standards that they have. It's why they scream when a woman dies. All men are suspects. All men must apologize. All men must prove they're safe. But flip the script and they have nothing to say the moment you bring up the fact that women kill men also. They shut down, crawl into monkey mode, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And the very, very few who will acknowledge that women kill men will immediately claim, but, it's an anomaly. It's rare. It's complicated. But sadly, it isn't rare. In fact, as we're about to show, it's just as common, statistically speaking, as men committing the crime. Difference is, when women do it, it's ignored or excused or justified. And when we do ignore it, we don't get justice. We don't get safety. We just get silence. We should be asking, are women dangerous too? Are women violent? Are women capable of horrific, calculated, cold-blooded murder? Well, here's a little spoiler alert for you. They are. Much more so than anyone will ever want to admit. The list of examples going back years is endless. Clara Harris ran over her husband with a car. Jodi Arias stabbed her boyfriend 27 times. Nancy Brophy wrote an essay called How to Murder Your Husband, then actually did it. Melanie McGuire cut up her husband and stuffed him into suitcases. Susan Smith drowned her kids. Andrea Yates, too. Jennifer Pan hired a hitman to kill her parents. Casey Anthony's daughter disappeared, and she partied through it. Those are probably the most well-known, but you get the point. Because for every one of those I just listed, there are hundreds, dare I say thousands more, that aren't even talked about. Feminists, the media, politicians, silent. And that silence is complicity. That silence is literally leading to the deaths of many more. And why do they do it? Because these murders don't fit the narrative, don't fit the all men are bad paradigm. While the all women are sugar and spice and everything nice paradigm that feminists want you to believe sounds good on paper, in reality, it's leading to countless more deaths. Deaths that could be prevented. Deaths that they're sweeping under the rug or rebranding as mental illness, postpartum depression, and trauma. But a man who kills someone, well, that's toxic masculinity. It's hate. It's sexism. It's not just that man, but all men, without exception. The double standard is disgusting. But let's not just focus on what we think. Let's go to the numbers. Let's go to the data, shall we? And let's not just take them at face value, but apply the context and some basic reasoning that should be applied to the data, yet rarely, if ever, is. According to the FBI, there is about 10,000 murders that happen in the U.S. every year. Of those, roughly 77% are committed by men and 22% by women. That's actually where feminists come up with their men kill women narrative. And yes, it does sound bad. We have to acknowledge that. I mean, I think we can all agree that any murder is bad, so unless that number is zero, we do have to acknowledge that the numbers are far higher than they should be. But here's the stat they never give you. What percentage of men, total men, actually kill someone? Oh, what? Let me guess. You never considered that, did you? Never took the next step to ask if men, all men, are, and I hate putting it this way, but I need to make a point, only killing about 7,700 people per year, most of whom, by the way, are other men. How is it we then need to assume that all men are murderers of women? Kind of a relevant question to ask, don't you think? Kind of an important point to consider when you're claiming it's all men. And let's really drill down into it by looking at data from 2019. And I chose that year because it's pre-pandemic. The numbers since then, some are saying, are skewed. At that point, there were roughly 174 million men in America. And as I said, there were about 7,700 murders committed by men. Though, to be fair, that's not taking into account that there are men who commit multiple murders. So that number per man is actually less than what it seems. But for the sake of simplicity, we're going to go with it. We're going to do some simple math. And that means that it's actually 0.0022% of all men in the United States who committed a murder in that year. Again, I would argue far more than it should be, but totally different than the "it's all men" narrative would have you believe. But again, that doesn't tell the entire story because, oh, by the way, we haven't accounted for the women. So far, we've only accounted for the men, which is exactly what feminists do. So we're going to tell the other side. We're going to really dive into the data and show what women are capable of. Because in the U.S., there are roughly 177 million women, or were in 2019. And those women committed 2,300 murders in the year in question. So for women, 2,300 out of 177 million, statistically speaking, works out to 0.0012% of all women who committed murder in the United States. Again, far too high a number, but a number that is higher than most feminists will ever admit. Now let's really tell the story. Let's compare those two stats. Male murders as a percentage of population, 0.0022%. Female murders as a percentage of population, 0.00012. So the entire feminist narrative, their entire "it's all men till it's no men" argument, really comes down to 0.00208%. Put it another way, that's 0.002%. Or, and you might want to sit down for this one, not even one extra person per 1,000. Fact, it's only 2 per 100,000. So yes, more men kill, but they're a tiny, tiny fraction of all men. Yet feminists want you to believe it's something entirely different. The fact is, murderers of both sexes are rare. Very, very rare. And the difference between men and women is about 0.001%. But you'd never know that listening to women and feminists, would you? It shows yet again how they'll take a little slice of data and spin it and twist it into a complete smear campaign. A smear campaign designed to accomplish one goal, which is to instill fear into women in order to control them. That is feminism's real goal. It is the entire mindset behind their lie. It's not about protecting women. It's about making them fear men, all men, so they'll reject them. Now let's go down another fork in the road that feminism does not want to go down and talk about intimate partner violence, otherwise known as IPV. Feminists love to say most women who are murdered are killed by their male partner. And again, on its face, that is a true statement for women who are murdered. An important distinction we'll get to in a moment. But first, let's take a quick side note. If their argument is most women are murdered by their male partner, kind of lays their entire "it's not safe for women to walk the streets alone" argument on its side, doesn't it? I mean, if it's mostly men they know who are doing it, why would you be so fearful of strangers? But I digress. Getting back to it, let me show you the trick feminists are using to manipulate things and paint men as evil, and themselves, and of course all women, as paragons of virtue. Because you see, they're zooming in on the tiniest subset of IPV, of violence. Just the women who are murdered. Just the ones that are killed by their partners. Which again, let me say it, is more than it should be. It's a point I have to keep repeating because I just know the feminists are going to go through this video and cut it up to make the claim that I'm dismissing female victims. Yet in reality, it's them who are doing exactly that. Them who is guilty of dismissing male victims. Because while they're quick to point out the female victims, they don't even acknowledge the male ones. They don't compare anything to the male victims. And they certainly don't compare it to the total population. They take one category where women are higher and use it to scream men are violent. But let's dig a bit deeper into the IPV data, because the same data that they love to use to, quote, paint men as murderers also shows 1 in 10 men are victims of IPV, as in murdered by women. And oh, by the way, that's reported murders. An important distinction, as often when it's the man who is the one who's been murdered, the woman isn't charged or is presumed to be defending herself, which they inevitably claim to be doing. This isn't some pulled out of my ass data. This is well-researched, well-documented data going back decades. Yet I'm betting many of you watching this aren't even aware of it. Add to it another little slice of the pie that they leave on the plate, which is that women are more likely to do things like use weapons or poison, use proxies or emotional manipulation. They aren't always the ones doing the stabbing. Often they get someone else to do that for them. And no, my friends, that's not counted in the stats. Not counted against women. It's counted against men, because it's usually a man they get to do it for them. Or sometimes they go another route, one perhaps even more evil, which is to just push a man into suicide by making him lose custody of his children or telling him he needs to be quiet, suffer in silence. Over 100 men a day, every single day, kill themselves. And roughly 40 of them do so directly because of issues dealing with divorce and family court, most often having false allegations laid against them and their children taken away. Yet none of them show up in the statistics. Let that sink in for a moment and ask yourself, why? And what happens when a woman does commit murder, when she does kill? What happens next? Well, more than likely, she's going to get empathy. She's going to get therapy. She might even get a talk show deal. A man, he's going to get life or death. Research shows on average women receive 63% shorter sentences than men for the same violent crimes. They're also far less likely to be charged with murder, but instead something like manslaughter, which again skews the stats. Overall, prosecutors are less likely to charge women, judges are more likely to sympathize with them, and juries are more likely to believe it was done in self-defense. Why? Because we still live in a world that believes women are helpless. Even though they're screaming, they're strong and independent. Even though they're screaming, we can do anything a man can do. Even when they're the ones holding the knife. So when feminists show stats about men convicted of murder, they're right, but also wrong. Because yeah, women don't get charged or convicted. They get excuses. Now let's talk about something that really burns me. The one feminists never want to talk about. Infanticide. Infanticide is the murder of infants and toddlers, usually by their own parents. And guess who does it the most? Mothers, by a wide margin, followed by men that they bring into the home, men who aren't the father. Fathers? Well, fathers are way down the list. The fact is, mothers and female caregivers are the primary killers of infants under 1. Feminism never talks about that. They don't hold rallies for those babies. They don't chant about the boys drowned in bathtubs. Why? Because it would force them to admit a harsh truth, that women kill children too, and far more often than men do. They dismiss it. They call it postpartum psychosis and give them therapy instead of prison. A man kills his child, he's a monster. A woman kills her child, she's just mentally ill. You see the pattern yet? So let's recap. Women kill. Women kill men. Women kill children. And women get away with it more. And feminists, as a group, as a collective, are A-OK with all of it. The proof being how feminists lie with stats to push their story, to push their phony narrative, to push their falsehood of feminism. The one that says it's men who are violent, and all women are nothing more than victims. Yet when you zoom out and scale it to the whole population, when you look at sentencing data and all the others that we've talked about, the truth is simple. Violence knows no gender, and neither should accountability. If you want to stop violence, you don't silence it based on sex. You confront it, all of it, even the parts that make you uncomfortable. And that starts by holding women, all women, accountable for the violence women commit. Because if it's all men till it's no men, then guess what? It's all women till it's no women, too. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. Why do you think we still allow this paradigm to exist? Why do we allow feminists to say it's all men and lose our minds if someone says it's all women? Why are we okay as a society generalizing men as violent and excusing women who are also violent? Let me know down in the comments. I genuinely want to hear what you have to think. And if you enjoyed this, if you learned something from it, do me a favor. Share it. Help me spread the word about this falsehood of feminism. Because until we get the conversation going, nothing is going to change. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. I release a new video every single day, and I talk about the issues that men and boys face in today's modern society. All right, till next time, this is Dan. Hope you have an awesome day.